My name is Rahul Kabra. I'm a Partner Solutions Architect at Amazon Web Services, and I will be your moderator today. I also have the pleasure of having Michael Simonis, who is Managing Director at Accenture and is responsible for all go-to-market activities for SAP on AWS. With that, I would like to get started with our actual presentation. Oops. So to get started, I would like to start with providing some background on AWS and SAP Alliance. SAP has been an AWS customer since 2008 and uses AWS for a variety of workloads, like running their developer, demo, and training systems on AWS. SAP also offers trial and developer edition for many of their solutions, like S/4HANA on AWS via their CAL or Cloud Application Library portal. SAP's NS2 organization runs SAP SuccessFactors for the national security community in our AWS GovCloud region. SAP also runs a hybrid microservices ecosystem on AWS. AWS became SAP's global technology partner in 2011, and since then, AWS and SAP have worked closely together to develop many innovative solutions to enable and accelerate SAP customers' digital transformation. Trying to go to the next slide. There we go. To talk a little bit about why AWS for SAP, our platform provides both deep and wide set of services to help and enable organizations to improve their business efficiency and to allow easy integration of their SAP applications with emerging technologies like IoT, big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence. Running your SAP workloads on AWS also helps in reducing the total cost of ownership. With AWS, you have access to scalable infrastructure that you can rapidly provision and deprovision on demand, which helps in minimizing the overhead typically associated with hardware maintenance. Security at AWS is our highest priority. Our customers benefit from our data center and network architectures designed to meet the requirements of the most stringent security-sensitive organizations. Our AWS Cloud Compliance programs helps customers understand the robust controls they have in place at AWS to maintain security and data protection in the cloud. SAP and AWS have collaborated since 2008. SAP has certified AWS for many of their production deployments of their applications, platforms, and databases. Many well-known organizations have migrated their SAP workloads to AWS and are seeing improved business efficiency as a result. To talk a little bit more about the SAP solutions supported on AWS, all of the SAP on-premises solutions have been certified and are supported for production by SAP on AWS. Some of the most popular solutions we see our customers migrate to AWS are S/4HANA, BW, BW for HANA, even HANA sidecar scenarios, and as long as all the NetWeaver solutions are over NetWeaver 7.0 or higher, are all supported and certified for SAP on AWS. All of the most popular SAP databases and mobile solutions like HANA, ASE, iHues, Replication Server, even the mobile platforms are all certified and supported on AWS. All of the major x86 operating systems like SUSE, Red Hat, Windows servers, even Oracle Enterprise Linux are all certified and supported. One quick note, we recently certified the Amazon Aurora database service for SAP Hybris e-commerce workloads. By the way, all of this information is also available in our SAP Note 1656099. I highly recommend you keep an eye out on it because we do update it quite frequently. Our EC2 service, which stands for Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, is a web service that provides secure, scalable, and resizable compute capacity in the cloud. And we have multiple instances which are certified to meet the high throughput and network performance requirements from SAP HANA and are fully supported by SAP for production workloads. AWS enables you to provision compute and storage resources for workloads like SAP HANA on the fly with no upfront commitment or lead time. With AWS, you only pay for infrastructure that you truly require and only pay for the amount of time that it's needed for. We provide EC2 instance types that can scale up to 4 terabyte of memory and can scale out up to 34 terabyte. And for the very first time, we have announced a roadmap for 8 and 16 terabyte instances that will be available for workloads like SAP HANA in the near future. Our AWS cloud infrastructure is built around regions and availability zones. A region is a physical location in the world, which may have multiple availability zones, or also known as AZs. Our availability zones consist of one or more discrete data centers, and each AZ have different failure domains and have redundant power, networking, and connectivity housed in different facilities. Our AZs offer you to operate SAP solutions and production scenarios which are much more fault-tolerant, highly available, and scalable than it would be possible from a traditional on-prem environment. Our AWS Cloud currently operates 44 AZs, or availability zones, in 16 geographic regions around the world, with plans of 14 more availability zones and 5 more regions in China, France, Hong Kong, Sweden, and a second GovCloud region in the US East. To help you begin your journey on AWS Cloud, we have created a set of resources that you can use and start mapping your existing workloads for AWS. Resources such as SAP white papers, blog posts, FAQs, sample pricing are all available on our website that you can start looking and referencing. We also have created AWS Quick Starts, which are essentially pre-configured reference deployments that help you easily provision complex solutions and infrastructure stacks on AWS. We have built a specific quick start for SAP HANA that automates the deployment and provisioning of all the AWS components, including SAP HANA on AWS, under typically less than 30 minutes. To also help you migrate to cloud, we have created this program along with SAP called SAP Rapid Migration Test Program, which is essentially a set of processes, procedures, and tools that we have worked very closely with SAP to help AWS customers and SAP customers understand the cost, effort, and potential risks involved, along with business value that you can get out by migrating your existing SAP solutions to SAP HANA on AWS. With this program, a test migration of a SAP solution on any database to SAP HANA can be completed in days versus weeks or months that it would take typically on other infrastructure options. Provisioning all of the required infrastructure typically takes less than an hour. And you can minimize the infrastructure cost by only having to pay for AWS infrastructure that is truly needed for the duration of the project. We have also created a portal called the AWS Partner Network Portal that you can leverage to find partners like Accenture that can help you with the migration and the implementation of SAP solutions on AWS. Implement new greenfield solutions on AWS, or even try SAP solutions on our platform. They provide complete SAP hosting managed services offering, and our APN partners can also help you with other specific areas like high availability, backup, recovery, system migration, and or replication. With that, I would like to turn things over to Mike Simonis from Accenture to talk a little bit more about Accenture AWS offering.
Hello, as Raul shared, I'm Mike Simonis. I'm a managing director in Accenture's technology business and our SAP AWS go-to-market lead. Accenture maintains a global alliance relationship with a wide range of industry partners, including all the top cloud providers such as AWS. Last year, Accenture and Amazon Web Services created a new business group, Accenture AWS Business Group, to help organizations migrate and run their businesses in the cloud and take advantage of benefits that an as-a-service model can bring on the AWS cloud. This was the first time AWS had formed a joint business group with a company like Accenture. Beginning in calendar year 16, Accenture evolved away from providing innumerable cloud-based or cloud-like options to companies and towards providing a single solution or solutions. This is pretty much consistent with our public cloud first strategy. And we've invested significantly with our largest ecosystem partners, including AWS, to establish a highly industrialized, automated, and orchestrated managed service. Today here, we're focusing on our joint SAP competency, and we continue to see a strong need for SAP on AWS capabilities. What do we see in the market? Accenture services over 1,000 SAP clients a year, providing both application and infrastructure implementation and managed services. We believe that most of these clients will move core SAP applications to the cloud in the next 2 to 5 years. We think this move will be a result of 3 key drivers. Number 1, to reduce the total cost of ownership by leveraging cloud today. Number 2, to renew and transform their core ERP by introducing S/4HANA over time. And 3, to innovate faster with analytics and IoT platforms. Now, cloud providers such as AWS are investing billions of dollars a year in new services and infrastructure. And it makes no sense for companies to try to match this investment. Instead, companies should use it as its foundation. A foundation to move SAP estates to the cloud as an anchor point, followed by the remaining non-SAP application estates. And as the footprint grows, cost per unit decreases. Now, it's important to consider that when we talk about cloud, the market is rapidly evolving. Looking at this graphic from left to right, namely, where up until about 2010, the SAP collective conscience, Accenture's included, was focused squarely on on-premise infrastructure solutions. And this has shifted. And we are now all consumed by infrastructure as a service. But over time, even SAP, even for SAP, SaaS will be the end game. So as we continue the infrastructure as a service conversation, there's arguably no SAP roadmap that cannot be married with AWS, because running SAP on public cloud is real and it works. When we take SAP ECC as is, so letter A here on this graphic, and run it on public cloud, we're helping to realize OpEx savings of 20 to 40%. When we take Suite on HANA or BW on HANA implementations, shown here as letter B, to the public cloud, we're advancing adoption of in-memory technologies. And when we combine S/4HANA or BW for HANA, letter C, with public cloud, we're accelerating these transformations. So whether the roadmap is ECC on any database, Suite on HANA and BW on HANA, or S/4HANA and BW for HANA, there is a clear way forward on AWS. We do encounter companies that do not want to be quote unquote early adopters or first movers. And this is actually a good conversation to have, because what we tell these companies is it's not actually possible to be an early adopter or first mover. Why? The early adopters have already adopted, and the first movers have already moved. Companies now have a choice to make: be a fast follower, or frankly, be behind. Because speed and choice is much higher on public cloud than private cloud or on-premise, and the cost is lower. Despite being a newer market, Accenture already manages over 1,500 SAP instances on the public cloud. This represents close to 40 companies, over 20 of which have put their production systems on the cloud. And by December of this year, 2017, we intend to be managing over 1,000 virtual machines running on SAP public cloud, including Suite on HANA, BW on HANA, and the S4 products. Now, Raul elaborated on this at the top of the webinar, but I did want to voice an additional perspective. Besides being engineered for SAP HANA, there's an expectation that AWS will be among the hyperscalers uniquely positioned to run SAP with the same performance, resiliency, security, and flexibility that it has run non-SAP workloads for many years. Raul, could I ask you to talk a little bit further about what is happening with AWS's SAP certification journey?
Absolutely, Mike. So this may not be known to everyone that X1E instance was GA'd last week for the first time. X1E instance is our newest instance offering that provides 131,000 SAPs with 4 terabyte of in-memory. We have now worked with SAP to certify that instance, and currently it's certified for 2.7 terabyte for production, but 4 terabyte for non-production. However, there may be workloads or situations that we will be able to utilize all 4 terabyte for production as long as our customers have gone through proper sizing exercises with SAP Quick Sizer and ABAP reports, and have made sure that the X1E resources meet their specific workload requirements. With that, they will be able to utilize all 4 terabyte for in-memory production. That being said, for scale out, we can go up to 34 terabyte. And just a quick note, the 34 terabyte there is no technical limitations. It's just a limitation that we think that would be enough for our customers and our workloads that they want to run on AWS. But if you have a situation when a customer wants to run like 50 terabyte scale out, we should be able to certify that environment as well. Back to you, Mike.
Thanks, Raul. So let's rotate from the instances and VMs over to services. Accenture takes a proven approach to migrating, streamlining, and running SAP applications on AWS. We look at infrastructure consulting services to implement the AWS Cloud onto which the SAP databases and apps will sit. We incorporate systems integration services, or SI, to migrate the SAP databases and SAP apps to the AWS Cloud. We then layer I/O services to run the AWS Cloud on which the SAP databases and apps will sit. And lastly, we take the application outsourcing or basis services to run the SAP databases and apps on the AWS Cloud. This unified delivery model creates a single delivery ownership and accountability with integrated monitoring and service management. And it also delivers end-to-end optimization and automation tools and services for planning, building, and running SAP environments on AWS, as well as a standard architecture to lower the TCO. Taking more of a delivery-centric view, the pieces of our end-to-end solution can be taken up as a whole or in part. When the cloud provided by AWS is coupled with Accenture infrastructure services, that's our IaaS service. That's our infrastructure as a service solution. When we add to that Accenture application services, that's our SAP as a service, if we want to talk any database, or our Suite on HANA or BW on HANA as a service when we're talking HANA with the legacy SAP code set. If we then consider transformation services, that's our S4 HANA or our BW for HANA as a service stack. Differentiation is and will frankly continue to be central to our ability to propel companies, large and small, forward in this space. Our Accenture Journey to Cloud SAP Center of Excellence has centralized solutioning, and our Accenture Cloud Platform, or ACP, helps to optimally manage and run workloads in multiple cloud environments. And this delivers a 10 to 20% savings. But it's our cloud suite for SAP that delivers the automation to build and run SAP environments on AWS in the public cloud, providing labor cost savings up to 20 to 50%. So we lower our cost to serve via the investments that Accenture and AWS have jointly made over the last 18 months. This starts with our SAP Cloud Shaper and Cloud Builder, which provides costing, standardized, and automated environment builds. It continues with SAP Cloud Runner, which provides automated automations. So think of after the project. It concludes with SAP Cloud Admin, which provides automated basis activities. Cloud Suite's tight integration with AWS provides for this high degree of automation, optimization, and simplification, which results in faster deployments for us, which means lower or shorter runways for companies and decreased costs. So let's shift to migrations, because let's be clear, not all S4HANA or BW4HANA implementations will be greenfield, and neither will most ECC on any database moves. That's why it's imperative that we find, develop, and employ tools, accelerators, and enablers to make these migrations, or getting SAP onto AWS, cost-effective and completed on the shortest possible runway. We're going to assume that most on the call are familiar with the SAP source tools which are available, so we won't focus on those here, but instead do a flyby on the Accenture accelerators. So in the lower quadrant on the screen, if we start in the left-hand square pre-conversion, we have a number of things that lower this runway. We have the system diagnostics, which basically provides insights on the current usage of the system and its degree of customization, so that we and a company know where to focus on critical areas of the system. There's a functional impact analysis tool, which helps determine the relevance of each S4HANA simplification as we move to the cloud, and provide a basis for the functional teams and the business process redesign that's needed. The S4 profiler assesses compatibility of custom objects with S4HANA. And the customer vendor integration decision assistant, this reports customer and vendor number range overlaps, insights into existing master data, so that those can be remediated. If we shift to the center and think about at conversion, we employ the S4 profiler again, and this is to accomplish automatic code correction. We can automate up to 80% of the code remediation that's required as we move from SAP on-prem or SAP any database to SAP in the cloud and SAP on HANA. Post-conversion, we take another look. There's a tables and views activation check, and we check for records consistency. This ensures all new tables and views that are delivered with S4HANA are present, and it makes sure that all those entries are populated. There's a finance conversion check that validates the conversion of financial data into the new universal journal. And then lastly, there's data archiving and an aging point of view. This is becoming more and more important as we look at companies that have increasingly large terabyte demands, and aging and archiving is central to making sure that we're able to effectively run S4 on AWS. And let's not overlook the SAP Rapid Migration Test Program with AWS, or the FAST offer that Raul alluded to earlier, which provides a no-frills service to really prove out the viability of migrating a company's SAP Business Suite or BW environments to SAP HANA on AWS. But that's a webinar for a different day. So with that, I'll hand the mic back to you, Raul, for Q&A, and after that, close.
Thanks a lot, Mike. We are now going to transition into a live Q&A session. As a reminder, you will be able to submit any written questions to the questions panel. In the event we are not able to answer your questions today, we will follow up with every one of you individually via email. Just going to look at some of the questions that have already arrived in the questions pane. So the first question is, which regions are the new X20 instances available? So as I mentioned earlier, the X20 instance went GA for the first time last week, and at the moment they're available in 4 regions, 2 in the US, 1 in Ireland, and also in Tokyo region. But we continue to monitor our demand very closely and will be rolling out this instance to every other region as soon as possible. So keep an eye out and make sure that if there are any regions that you would like to have this instance, you reach out to us so that we can put that in our demand control. The next question is, can all 4 terabyte be consumed for SAP production workloads? As I mentioned earlier, yes, you will be able to consume all 4 terabyte as long as you have gone through the proper sizing exercises with SAP and possibly your partner, to make sure that the environment and the workload that you're currently trying to assess fits the requirements that the X1E instance provides. If that is the case, yes, you would be able to consume all 4 terabyte for production workloads. The next question here is, which tools are used for rapid migration test program? So we have worked very closely with SAP to create this DMO tool. DMO is a native SAP tool, but along with AWS help, SAP has created this new tool called DMO with System Move, which allows the process of moving systems from on-prem to AWS in a much better and automated way. So that is the tool. It is a native SAP tool, but is used in migration on clouds as well. So the next question maybe is for you, Mike. Are there any unique accelerators for non-HANA migrations to cloud as well?
Sure, well, that's a great question. When we look at the accelerators to move, let's say, SAP any database to SAP any database onto AWS, it's much more of a simplified exercise. So if we're talking about a like-for-like, database move, it's a homogeneous migration, and there's less checks and balances, if you will, that are necessary. If we're talking about a heterogeneous migration, so that moving from SQL to DB2 or what have you, and not HANA, and please don't grade me on the availability of different databases on AWS. I don't have the list in front of me, so I'm just making them up. We do have similar accelerators to the ones that I spoke about from a HANA standpoint as well.
Great, thanks, Mike. The next question also is for you, Mike. Does Accenture offer DR cloud solutions for SAP production on premises?
Do we? Yes. So if we're talking about a company who is interested in leaving their production environment on premise or in a colo, we do have the ability to stand up DR environments in AWS, connect those to the on-premise environment, and handle DR and RPO, RTO recovery and that sort of thing that way. What I will share though is we tend to see the advantages of putting SAP on AWS magnified or exemplified more if we have the entire non-production estate sitting on AWS as well. So while we can definitely, leave a DR environment on AWS, where we see the most value and benefit is when an entire non-production landscape sits on AWS, when that landscape also acts as a DR environment, so the non-prod is run in a degraded mode, let's say during a DR event. DR spins up and it becomes your production. But the majority of the savings that we can tend to see when using AWS is when we are able to set our utilization rates and spin up and spin down servers, frankly, on AWS when we are or when we are not using them for our non-prod environments.
Thanks, Mike. The next question is, what is the maximum terabyte size of scale out at the moment? I can take that. So at this point, we have 34 terabyte, which can be scaled out for OLAP kind of workloads. And the 34 terabyte is only the certification limit that we went for. But if there are any scale out requirements that go beyond the 34 terabyte, we should be able to achieve that as well. But so to answer the question, 34 terabyte is the scale out certified limit at the moment. Next question is, what is the timeline for the 8 and 16 terabyte instances? So at this time, we do not have a specific timeline that we can disclose, but they are on the roadmap for sometime 2018. So as in when we are closer to that time frame, we will be making more announcements on the timeline. Let's looking at some more questions. You mentioned that SAP on AWS was cloud cost effective. Can you give some specific examples of how? Mike, I can start, and you can add more information if you like. So
yes,
in terms of cost effectiveness, there are ways you can automate things. For example, if there are specific periods like month end or year end, we can use our various services like Lambda and step functions to create and provide more resources for specifically those timeframes, and then you will be able to scale back down when the events that require more compute or power resources are over. So that is in some ways directly a cost-effective option. We also have a very easy way to resize our instance sizes. So for example, if you were to have a need where you need to scale up for very short duration, it's an easy resize of the instance size, and that would be able to provide you more compute capacity, and then you will be able to resize it back down when you don't need that anymore. So there are multiple ways that you can sort of save cost and improve your business agility at the same time. Is there anything else from Mike you would like to add?
Yeah, Raul. I would say, when we look at running SAP on AWS, it affords us an unprecedented automation level that was really never possible on premise, and that includes infrastructure as code and infrastructure DevOps, auto deployment, auto scaling, auto start and shut down, automated management, so that we can size right and auto scale to demand. You can pay for what you need. And we remove a lot of the human error and increase the consistency and quality. Also, there's continuous platform improvement, so every month multiple new features are released, and that helps us to optimize cost and quality that we typically are not able to do with an on-premise solution. And then, lastly, we do typically see a 20 to 50% cost takeout on the client side for the SAP infrastructure run that we think can beat any private cloud infrastructure cost.
Great, thanks, Mike. The next question is, how are upgrade patches applied? Are they different from on-prem process? And I can take that question. So on AWS, customers and or partners are responsible for applying all of the system patches and OS patches. However, we have AWS specific services and tools that you can leverage to make your life simpler and easier. We have services like System Manager and Patch Manager. These are the tools that you can leverage to automate the patching of the infrastructure on AWS. And that is something that, that would depend on how you configure and what patches you would like to apply on your environment. The next question is, DMO is not used for deploying RDS. Is it for migration? That is correct. So at this point, DMO cannot be used for deploying any RDS type of solutions on AWS. In fact, the only time you can really use RDS is for Hybris deployments. RDS services cannot be used for traditional SAP deployments. And DMO absolutely is not supported for RDS. The next question is X1E scale out in SAP certification roadmap? If yes, is there any estimated date? At this point, I cannot share any information on the X1E certification for scale out, but I would highly recommend that you reach out to us, and we may be able to provide you some more update at a later point. The next question is, does AWS provide a key technical contact to guide us through and give us confirmed delivery dates for the build phase, or is it all handled by assigned Accenture team? I can take that first part, Mike, and then you can take the second part. So in terms of AWS, we do have people like me who are solutions architects and professional services who can absolutely help you and guide you through some of the processes and procedures in place for automation and implementation of your SAP systems on AWS. We also work very closely with our partners like Accenture to make sure that the comfort level is there to meet all of the delivery dates that the customers have in mind. And Mike, if you have anything else to add, please go ahead and do so.
Sure. I think what's important here is if a company decides to work direct with AWS, it would follow the pathway that Raul just described. If a company opts to employ Accenture as their cloud managed service provider, right? Then the stand up or the build of the environments on which the SAP apps and databases will run is, wholly owned, or the accountability lies with Accenture and AWS, right? So in that case, a company or a project team, let's say, would work with Accenture to understand exactly when environments are needed for sandbox, dev, test, pre-prod, QA, production, or what have you, and those dates, right, would then be agreed to. And as the systems come online from a AWS standpoint, the project team or the company would be informed through Accenture. So there would not be a need for the company to, pick up the phone and call AWS, or, track them on a calendar or that sort of thing.
Thanks, Mike. So next question is, who are some of the customers who are running SAP Suite on HANA on AWS? Currently, we have an extensive list of case studies which are public and can be accessed through our website. I highly recommend that you check out our case studies, and you will be able to get a good feeling of what kind of customers run the SAP production as well as Suite on HANA solutions on AWS. So case studies is the place to go for getting all of that information. Next question is, you mentioned an 80% reduction in time of testing with SAP Migration Test Program. Can you elaborate? So I can take that question, and Mike, if you have anything else to add, please go ahead and do so. So as I mentioned earlier, with the SAP Migration Test Program, you can use tools like DMO with System Move to migrate your existing SAP environment on AWS. But the way this is done is you can provision and use our SAP Quick Starts to provision the environment on AWS in a very, very rapid time. So typical deployments can take under an hour to have the target environment ready, and then you use the DMO tool to migrate your existing SAP solution on-prem on any DB to the target environment on AWS. And the process is much more streamlined, and absolutely our SAs or professional services colleagues can definitely help you, and so can partners like Accenture to move or migrate your system, and then you would be able to get an understanding of the effort it takes to have your existing environment on HANA on AWS. So we have seen customers benefit quite a bit when they use our quick starts and they use this program to migrate solutions to AWS. And that's why we feel there are a lot of opportunities of both time and cost savings using this program. Michael, if you have anything else to add, please do so.
Raul, you are the expert on FAST, so I will defer to what you just talked through.
Thanks. So the next question is, would you elaborate on how the AAS progression is achieved by AWS, HANA, and Accenture, roles that each play from IAS to BAS? Mike, you want to take that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it's very straightforward, right? When Accenture and AWS partner, particularly as part of our Accenture AWS business group, AWS is providing the infrastructure as a service. So the in 2010 terms, right? The hosting, so the ping power pipe, the server storage network, and the warm hands to be in the data center. Full stop, right? So the infrastructure as a service is provided by AWS. Anything beyond that, in a situation where Accenture and AWS are delivering jointly, is handled by Accenture. So all the way to the business process as a service, or if we talk PaaS, if we talk BaaS, all those services are incremental, provided by Accenture.
Great, thanks a lot. At this point, there are no more questions. So on that note, I would like to wrap up today's webinar. As a reminder, you will get an email within the next 2 to 3 days with a link to the slides on SlideShare and a recording of today's webinar. We want to thank all of you for attending, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. Thank you very much, Mike from Accenture, for attending this webinar, and thank you everybody else. Thank you.